Part 2, Chapter 3, Suration. So, why'd you join the games? That was the question we had all been asking each other for the past few minutes. It seemed to take an eternity for the 10-shard weapon delivery people to reach our room. We'd been kicking back and relaxing in the comfy chairs and eating the chocolate bars out of the mini fridge in the room. I looked at Torrential, who had been asked the question by Assembly. He swiftly replied with, I wanted to do something with my life? He didn't seem very confident in his answer. What about you? Assembly cast his hands in front of him and said, I need funding. That's simple. Myriads are kings, and kings can pay for stuff. I hope to be able to fund not just my research, but other scientists' and engineers' works as well. Huh, Torrential replied. Suddenly, there was a swift knock at the door, and Mystic stood up to open it. In walked two men in dark suits with sunglasses and face masks. The one on the left said, Within these boxes are your banners. We will give one to each of you now. Do not use them to attack comrades or other participants at this time. The one on the right, who was holding 5 boxes labeled with our nicknames, handed them out to each of us. Open them once we leave, said the guy on the right. They backed out of the room and then closed the door in our faces. Huh, epic, Artery exclaimed as she pulled the box open. Inside was a doctor's coat, which she then put on. I grinned. Snazzy. Why, thank you, Cerberus. Assembly went next. Inside his was a rucksack, which he slung over his back. He muttered. He opened the rucksack, peering inside, spotting a bunch of wires, scraps of metal, and other machine parts, plus many, many tools. Wrenches, screwdrivers, hammers. Cool. Assembly's eyes lit up. I could make all sorts of stuff with this. Torrential and Mystic opened their respective boxes. Inside Torrential's, a cloak. Inside Mystic's, many golden hoops that they placed to adorn their arms. Not a very obvious use, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out, Artery exclaimed. And what's in yours, Cerberus? I peered into the small box. All that was inside was 2 black fingerless gloves with 4 strange line designs on the knuckles and 1 on the thumb. I slipped them on. Super light, comfy material, but also fit really well on my hands. Well, now that we're all suited up, Artery glanced at the door, why don't we head on back outside and take a peek at the first game? As we peered outside, we noticed the group of people gathering again, all of them with some sort of new object. The screens now read, Assemble at Gate A for the first game. All right then, I said. Let's get started. As we headed back into the grand hall, our bellies full of chocolate and our hearts filled with determination, we looked up at the stage once more. The little man was there again, and he immediately started to read off the rules of the first challenge. The first challenge is a simple obstacle course. Fighting is allowed, but since none of you really know how your abilities work, it might be a little harder to fight each other. This is not timed, and there will be no team cutoff. However, this does not mean this will be easy. Terrible traps await you in this course. And on that happy note, he lifted a pistol in the air. Begin! The pistol fired, and the gates at the end of the hall opened. Immediately, we all surged forward with a crowd of people as they sped into the first part of the course. Once we got outside, we saw the beginning. It looked like a simple 15-meter sprint to the next area. Let's go! Assembly yelled, and we dashed down the range, past other teams, and straight towards the next goal. As we were running, we saw people getting knocked over or trampled, but nobody was actually attacking each other. Why is nobody fighting? I yelled over the crowd of robots in the stands around us. Nobody knows how to, Torrential yelled back. We weren't told how these things work. Whoa! He had swished his cloak around him and flown into the air. It's wind! Your ability! It's wind! Mystic called at him. Wow! Very cool! I'm falling! Torrential screamed at us. Just flick your cloak again, mate, I called at him. He did, and a gust of air just barely stopped him from smashing into the ground. He fell down hard, but didn't seem to break anything. Oh, wow. That was actually terrifying, he said with a shaky breath. Artery grinned at him. It's a cool ability, though. Yeah, and terrifying. Come on, I yelled as we continued running. The next part was just ahead, and we needed to keep moving. People rushed around us, throwing random attacks wildly to try and slow us and other people down. I dodged a flailing hand swung at my face as we sprinted. A group of people fell to my right, knocked over by a much larger man. There was blood beneath my feet, and I could hear someone screaming in pain behind me. And yet, despite all the chaos, I had never felt more alive. That is the end of Chapter 3. Thank you for listening in. Chapter 4 will be available on my YouTube at Vaporwave Sunrise Book very, very soon. Have a nice day.